19 years of marriage, 2 kids, and my wife confesses her friend set her up with a guy her friend had hooked up with before, and she agreed to meet him, but nothing happened. I'm done and planning my exit. My wife is 48 and I am 46, and we are together for 19 years. She just confessed to me that her friend set her up on a blind date. She had a girls' night out with her friend Tessa. Tessa set her up apparently with a guy that she had slept with a few weeks earlier. Tessa was hooking up with someone else and set my wife up with the past hookup. My wife went out at 7 p.m. and came home at 3 a.m. that night. The confession came completely out of the blue, said she was sorry, wants to work on her marriage, waterworks, begging forgiveness. She said that nothing happened between her and the guy because Tessa had slept with him. She knew agreeing to meeting this guy was wrong, and going to meet him was even worse. I don't believe that nothing happened like she is saying. She also said that the guy works at a sawmill and you make more money. That's why I'm the better option. Basically, she was confessing to actively trying to replace me. If she could find someone with a better paying job, this post would be much different. Not long after this girl's night out, and before the confession, my wife and Tessa had a total meltdown of their friendship. Suddenly, they went from best friends to Tessa is a liar and a manipulative, jealous person, according to my wife. I think the confession, or partial confession, was to keep Tessa from telling me about her sleeping with the guy, gaslighting me on the truth of what really happened by telling me only partially about it, only enough to look bad, but not the whole ugly truth of what happened. Honestly, I didn't need to be told everything that happened. Her story didn't add up. The holes in the story were too big. Little coincidences that occurred around that time put everything in perfect focus. When she told me about it, I lost all feelings for her. I just went numb, didn't even get angry. I'm done. Just working on my exit strategy at this point, getting financials in order, place to move into, etc. It really sucks that she would be willing to throw away 19 years of marriage with no regard for anything, including our 2 children. Best comments with Opie's participation. Your wife must have told Tessa everything that happened with that guy. And since they're now fighting, she gave you a half-baked story and said that Tessa is a liar and jealous, so you won't believe her when Tessa tells you that your wife effed that guy. My thoughts exactly. I think you should call Tessa and listen her side of story too. If she came home at 3, she definitely effed that guy. The fact that her friend set her up makes me think that your wife has been telling Tessa she wanted out or at least wanted to cheat. I know 19 years is a long time, but personally, I wouldn't want to waste another minute of my life with someone who only stays with me because I make more money than the person they tried to replace me with. She has no respect for you. You deserve better. It might not feel like that now because the shock is still fresh, but I would get the papers ready, and luckily that takes a few weeks to do so that you can come to terms with the bullshit your wife tries to get you to believe. Trust me, she is trying to convince an overthinker with half-truth and omission. Taking into account behavior, time, and other factors, I don't need a complete confession. I know what's happened, going to happen, and what I need to do. Kudos on you for thinking with your head. A line was crossed, so that means there was some sort of intent somewhere. You don't just accidentally do these things in a committed relationship. Why are people hooking her up on dates anyhow? You hinted at it yourself. Tessa sleeping with the guy was the only thing that prevented her from doing anything, though I personally feel she went all the way. Sort of her admission. Get her ducks in a row and bounce. Let her get with someone who is better sweets financially, as she clearly wants. You're just plan B. Tessa was her very promiscuous friend. Maybe she just wanted to experience it for herself. I can't answer that for her. All I know for certain is she went on a date. For 8 hours. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to figure out that if she had no problem with one form of cheating, she wouldn't have a problem with another. I'm not going to tolerate any of it. Most likely this not the first time your wife and her best went out cheating. The reason for the confession was her best friend was getting ready to tell you, and your wife wanted to set the narrative to put her in the least damning position to keep her marriage. Down the road, you will out the real story about how your wife and best friend got into a fight over another man. Update number 1, 28 days later. She's in full-blown panic mode. She was recently diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder where her white blood cells are attacking her lungs. This causes asthma attacks that normal medication can't correct. The only drug on the market that controls the condition has a copay of $13,000 after her Medicaid. If I didn't have really good health insurance through my employment, there isn't any possibility of her being able to afford it. She is trying everything to reconcile, even setting up couples counseling. We made it through 2.5 sessions. Explains why she came clean on partial truth and wants to fix things. Counseling went the way I figured it would. Every session was all about everything I had done wrong. Including my working 50 hours each week to make ends meet because she has partial disability and doesn't work. I'm not saying that I'm perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Everything was brought up, including our 2 children. Well, except I was informed that the mention of her date night was off limits. About halfway through the 3rd session, the counselor looked her in the eye and asked, if you have such a high-power radar to detect what everyone else is doing wrong, point that radar at yourself and tell me what you do wrong. The proverbial shit hit the fan. My soon-to-be ex-wife started yelling at the counselor and wanted to know why she was attacking her when we were there so she can fix me. After a few minutes of back and forth, my soon-to-be ex-wife stormed out crying. The counselor told me that my soon-to-be ex-wife has a deep hatred for me, and I don't think this marriage can be salvaged. Basically, my response was yup and nope. I informed the counselor that I appreciate her time and we won't be back. She offered me individual counseling. I informed her that I probably would in the future and proceeded to tell her about the taboo topic. Needless to say, it didn't surprise her and confirmed her suspicion. Needless to say, the entire trip back to the house was about what a quack the therapist was. I've basically been on autopilot when I'm at the house. I refer to it as the house because it isn't a home anymore. I've moved into the spare bedroom. As far as I'm concerned, I may be married, but I no longer have a wife. If she didn't need good medical insurance coverage, she would still be on the hunt. I don't need to track down Tessa to get the whole story. I live in a small community of less than 900 people. I commute to work to a bigger city daily. Monday of this week, while at the only grocery store in the community, guess who ran into my soon-to-be ex-wife? None other than the blind date guy. Small towns, right? It was bound to happen. I was at the end of the aisle when he walked up to her. He's a small guy, maybe 5 feet, 9 inches, and 150 pounds. She had her back to me and didn't realize where I was. He asked her out again, right in front of me. She did decline, though. That's when I walked up. I asked him if her was the guy she went out with about 2 months ago. He asked what's it to me. I backed him up against the shelves and told him that I've been her husband for 19 years. I thought he was going to soil himself. I'm 6 feet 2 inches and 250 pounds and muscular. She tried to get me to back off. I growled at her to shut up. She just better listen. Immediately, she started crying. He told me that he was told she was single and begged for me to not kill him. I asked if they F. He swallowed hard and said yes. She cried harder. I told him to never let me see him again. He apologized for everything and basically ran out of the store. Her AP outed her by being in the wrong place at exactly the perfect time. If it hadn't been him, I would have eventually run into Tessa to get the story. Needless to say, most of the time I'm on autopilot. It's as if all emotion is gone. I have to fake happiness while I'm with my children. I don't know if it is an emotional self-defense mechanism to keep things from falling further apart. I know I should be in some kind of distress over this. One day it's going to hit hard. I no longer trust the things I know to be true. Do my children really love me? Or do they love the things I give them? Do my parents? Do they only love the fact that I got good grades in school, never got into trouble, always had good paying jobs? The only thing I'm certain of is I can't stay in this sham of a marriage and it's over. I get up, go to work, barely eat or sleep. The only people I've told about this are strangers on the internet. I have no one to talk to about this. I go from one day to the next pretending I'm normal. Maybe my soon-to-be ex-wife was right. The therapist does need to fix me. Best comments. Go to the therapist for yourself. The process of divorce is going to get hard, and trust me, it will be helpful, even if asking advice on how to minimize the impact on your children. I couldn't stay in a marriage like you describe either. Seek a lawyer ASAP and get divorce moving. Once you're clear of this entitled, selfish woman, the better. It's clear she cares nothing for you and just wants your financial support. The way she behaved in counseling and the continued trickle truth. Unbelievable. You are absolutely correct. I pretty much convinced myself to get into counseling, writing everything out. Since the meeting in the store episode, she is paranoid and wants to know where I am every minute of the day. I think she can smell the brimstone from the hellfire I'm going to unleash on her world. I'm going to play dead for a while and sort out financials, lawyer, etc. She made her plans. Now it's my turn.